Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Blow Daz.
I'm Office Blow Aidan.
Here we are, two of us today.
Yep.
30 geography facts that make no sense.
Do you know any geography facts that make no sense?
No, loads. I don't know if they make sense or not. Make sense to me.
I couldn't tell you one that doesn't really make sense, but it does make sense. Alaska is like the most east and the most west state in America.
Right, because of the time zone. Yeah, because it starts and ends. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact, that, isn't it?
Fact.
Yeah. I know the other ones that make no sense really is that Switzerland's the only square flag.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense.
It doesn't.
Does it not?
Just have a rectangular one like everyone else. Nepal,
yeah, they could. Yeah, make no sense there.
I know, the same one. So, yeah.
For sure. Let's get into
There
this.
are many geography-related facts that are straight up easy to believe, simple and or pretty well known, such as the Pacific Ocean being the largest ocean on the planet. But what about the facts that are harder to believe? Facts that kind of make no sense at all. Facts that are somewhat counterintuitive, and facts that might just change the way you look at our planet. So in this video, I've put together 30 random geography related facts that seemingly make no sense at all.
They better be good.
You may be already aware of some of them, but I guarantee at least a few will take you by surprise. So enough yapping, let's just jump straight into number 1. If you were to stretch out Norway's entire coastline, the world's 61st largest country, it wouldn't just wrap around the planet once, it could do it twice, with some extra to spare.
That's
this
crazy.
mind-blowing length is thanks to what is known as the coastline paradox, where all the tiny inlets and jagged edges make Norway's coastline the second longest on Earth. Number 2. There are more people that speak English in the Philippines than what live in the entirety of the UK. An estimated 70 million people can speak English in the Philippines, whereas a total population...
I thought Spanish was their main language.
No, it's Filipino.
Yeah, but they speak Spanish, don't they? Or is Filipino just like a Spanish?
It's a very similar language, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's very similar, but they use certain words that are very similar.
I see.
But yeah, but every Filipino I know speaks English.
No, yeah, they probably
population
do.
of the UK is around 69 or so million. Of that 69 million, it is believed that around 64 million speak English. Number 3.
About 12 million.
So North Korea and Norway are found rather far away from one another, right? There must be dozens of countries separating the two. Yeah. Well, in one scenario, this isn't actually true. It is in fact completely possible to travel from Pyongyang to Oslo by crossing a single country. That country of course being Russia. Number 4. What do you think the closest US state is to mainland Africa?
Oh, mainland Africa.
Got to be Florida, right?
No,
it's probably going to be Maine, up there.
Maine looks.
But that is quite high though.
Maine, Massachusetts, so mainland Africa, you're going across to Morocco there, aren't you? So I'm going to go with Maine. Maine would be my guess.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
When you visualize a world map on your head, it has to be Florida, right? That logically makes the most sense. However, it turns out that Maine, tucked away in the northeast, is in fact the closest US state to mainland Africa, at just over 5,000 kilometers, whereas Florida's closest point is some 1,500 kilometers further.
I mean, it looks normal when you see it
When
like
you think of England/the UK in terms of climate, you probably imagine something like this. Grey, overcast and rather miserable.
It's because it's not Manchester, that's why.
It's Liverpool.
Yeah,
Which for the most part is correct. Now, if you're from a hot country, this next sentence might make you giggle. In order for a heatwave to be declared in parts of the UK, the temperature must exceed 25 degrees Celsius for 3 consecutive days. Yes, you heard that right, 25 degrees Celsius.
That's
as
boiling.
Cold as the UK usually is, the highest temperature ever recorded in the country was a crazy 40.3 degrees Celsius. Which is higher than the highest recorded temperature in Malaysia, Sri Lanka, the Republic of Congo or Vanuatu.
What?
Places you most certainly associate with being very hot. Number 6. At an estimated 3.3 million, there are more native German speakers in Brazil than in Belgium, Luxembourg and Liechtenstein combined, where German is an official
Brazilian's
language.
massive.
I got a friend who's German.
How are you going to compare?
He lives in Brazil.
Yeah.
And there's a big, after World War II, I think it was World War II, there was a big exodus of people going from Germany to Brazil. So there's like there's Nuevo Hamburgo in Brazil.
I didn't know that, but at the same time, how many Brazilians are there compared to people from Liechtenstein?
Yeah, well, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he says it was German speaking, so you got the German people moving from Germany into Brazil.
Yeah.
So, like I say, Nuevo Hamburgo, which is New Hamburg, big population there, Germans down in.
I didn't know
moved
that.
over there. Yeah.
If we include the United States and France, Brazil still has more. And whilst we're on the topic of the German language, Germany must be the country with the highest percent of its population being native German speakers, right? It has to be. Well, no, it doesn't rank first nor second. First belongs to Liechtenstein with 91.5%,
Right.
and then Austria at
population.
88.6. Germany ranks
Look how
third
many
with
volume is off.
84.8. Number 7. Australia, with around 300,000, has more camels than Egypt. Now, when you think of camels, which you probably don't do on a daily basis, if you were to associate a country with the animal, many people, including myself, would instantly think of Egypt.
Saudi.
However, Egypt is nowhere near the country with the highest camel population.
Chad, yeah.
Although figures are rather unreliable, numerous African countries have upwards of 1 million.
That's like the same as like Sudan having more bloody pyramids.
Yeah, that's,
Everyone says Egypt.
that might be in there.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Significantly more than Egypt. Number 8. So this is Bolivia, one of 2 landlocked countries found across the entire Americas. At 1.1 million kilometers squared, it's a pretty decently sized country. However, it doesn't have access whatsoever to any seas or oceans. Yet, quite unbelievably, the country has the 19th highest amount of warships on Earth. That's some 173.
More than
That's
Spain.
more than the likes of Spain, Japan,
Yeah.
or Brazil. Bolivia's navy operates across its many river systems, fighting against drug and people smugglers, as well as providing support and aid to those in remote regions. Number 9. If you were to split Russia into 2 by its European and Asian territory, both would respectively easily still be the largest on their corresponding continent. The Asian part of Russia would still be the largest country on Earth. Now, whilst we're on the topic of Russia, its largest subdivision is Sakha, which at nearly 3.1 million kilometers squared would be the 8th largest country on Earth if it were to become its own independent country.
Probably like a population of about 50,000 in there as well.
Less than that, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Number 10. Bhutan is a peaceful country nestled away within the Himalayas. It's a country that famously measures its progress by GNH, that's gross national happiness, as opposed to GDP. Around 3/4 of its population are Buddhist. They tend to live a way of life that respects mindfulness, harmony, and peace. However, in 2019, in its most recent participation, the country ranked 95th out of 156 countries in the World Happiness Ranking Index.
That's not what you
take
want.
that index with a pinch of salt.
No.
The index focuses on more modern quality of life elements rather than actual day-to-day happiness of the inhabitants.
Yeah, they
Number
might be
11.
happier.
So, China is somewhat seen as a rather non-religious country. Around 52% of its population identify as atheist. That's not to say that many people don't follow certain religions in the country. For example, an estimated 2% of the population is said to be Christian. A rather insignificant amount, right? Well, remember, China's population is around 1.4 billion, meaning 2% equates to around 27 million people. That's more than the entire population of Australia. If China's 2% Christian population formed their own country, they'd be around the 54th most populated country on Earth. Number 12. This is Indiana, the 38th largest state in the US. It's home to around 6.9 million people and has a GDP of roughly $500 billion. That's pretty impressive for a relatively small state, right? Well, what's even crazier is that Indiana's economy is actually larger than the entire GDP of the Philippines, Vietnam, or Bangladesh. Countries with populations of 115, 100, and 170 million people respectively. Now, this isn't to downplay those 3 economies, they're all developing nations and growing at a solid pace. It's more about highlighting the sheer wealth of the US and how even a smallish state like Indiana packs such an economic punch. Number 13. Alright, this has to be one of the most counterintuitive facts of the video. Alaska is both the US's most eastern/western state. But how exactly? Well, it's because part of Alaska crosses a line called the 180th meridian, which splits the world into east and west. This means that a tiny part of Alaska is technically in the eastern hemisphere, making it the most eastern state, even though it's way out west on most maps. This means that
It's like when I first heard about this, it was like the most confusing thing to get my head around at first. But it's quite when you
explain it like that,
it like that, it's quite
Alaska
easy to
stretches
understand.
further into the west than Hawaii does, and one that doesn't really make sense until you double check it on a world map. Number 14. This is San Marino, one of the smallest countries on Earth in terms of population and land size. Its population is around 33,500, yet unbelievably there are estimated to be 54,000 road vehicles in the country. That's 1.6 per
mopeds.
person, the highest on Earth. For reference, the US, which is a very car-centric country, has a rate about half of San Marino's. The reason why San Marino's vehicle per capita is so high is because it's a rather wealthy, hilly country with limited public transport, meaning cars are almost essential for its residents.
Doesn't
So
mean
we've
you need
now
two.
reached the halfway point with number 15. Now, this is quite a commonly spoken about fun geography fact as it defies all logic. But I'm sure if you asked 100 random people on the street who France's longest border is with, pretty much no one would guess it correctly. Most
Have you heard this one before? France's longest border.
Who's it with?
Yeah.
Just going off that picture there, it looks like it's going to be I'll probably say Spain.
Because they've got territories. Elsewhere.
Territories,
It's like
that's what I was
Brazil.
gonna say.
I think it's Brazil.
Yeah, they're going to say, it's not France, it's a French territory.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's where it's somewhere...
Like French
Guyana or
Guyana,
somewhere,
yeah. I think that's it.
people would likely guess Spain, Belgium, or maybe even Italy if their geography knowledge isn't up to scratch. However, it is in fact Brazil, as French Guyana is a department of the French found in northeast
It's a bit of a
South
cheap one,
America.
that, innit?
Yeah.
Their border runs some 730 kilometers, which is over 100 kilometers longer than its border with Spain.
It doesn't
Number
look bigger, though.
The closest point of Earth's land to space is the summit of a mountain that doesn't even rank in the top 100 tallest mountains on Earth. Mount Chimborazo stands at some 6,200 meters tall, about 1,000 meters shorter than the 100th tallest mountain. However, due to Mount Chimborazo's location on what is known as Earth's bulge, the mountain protrudes out towards space further than any other point on Earth. So, whoever the tallest person to summit this mountain is, could technically be classed as the closest human to space whilst touching the Earth's land. Number 17. Now, this one seriously took me by surprise.
So what if you go
We
into
all know
space? So what if you just go into space with a rock?
Yeah, I mean, you're not
Then
touching
you
the Earth's
close
ground,
it,
are
yeah,
you? You're touching a part of the ground. It's like holding a bit
Still
of the moon.
touch-
It's like holding a bit of moon dust.
Yeah,
and
I'm on
going,
the
"Bit of
moon. I'm on the moon.
Yeah.
Samsung is an absolute behemoth of a global brand, and that it's easily South Korea's largest company. But just how important is Samsung to the country? Well, the company is responsible for roughly 20% of the country's entire GDP. Yes, you
What?
heard that right, 20%. The company is the absolute backbone of the South Korean economy. If it were to fail, the country would see some serious consequences.
That's
the
quite
CEO
crazy.
of Samsung is so important to the country, he's sometimes regarded as being just as, if not more, important than the actual leader of the country. Number 18. This is Equator, an autonomous Spanish city that must be found in Spain, right?
Oh,
Or
I see.
Europe for that matter. Well, no, this city is actually found on mainland Africa. It sits on the northern coast of Africa, right next to
right.
Morocco, overlooking the
These sort of things really annoy me, man.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
weird borders and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just make that Morocco.
I've known about this because Moroccan people crashed it a few I don't know, months or year
I've
or so
seen
ago.
this before. It's quite
They all charged,
surprising.
didn't they, and went across the border, and then they said we're in Spain, take us to the mainland.
Oh,
They did that,
really?
yeah, it was one of them sort of like they crossed the border into Spain, so that gave them eligibility to go to wherever they wanted to go for migration type reasons.
Damn.
Mediterranean Sea. The city was taken control of by the Spanish in 1580, and has remained Spanish ever since due to its importance for facilitating trade and military defence in the region.
Well, there
Number
you go, if it
19.
makes sense.
Greenland and Iceland are sort of neighbours, sitting just 330 kilometres apart at their closest point. But which one has more forest cover? With a name like Greenland, you'd assume it'd be the obvious winner. However, it's not even close. Greenland has only around 2.2 kilometres squared of forested land. Iceland, on the other hand, boasts around 1,800 kilometers squared of forest, which makes up around 1.5% of the country. Number 20. Papua New Guinea is named after a historic region found in Africa, even though it's found some 14,000 kilometers east of the continental mainland. The name Papua is believed to derive from a Malay word meaning frizzy head, referring to the hair of the indigenous people. New Guinea was used because the explorer who named the island thought the people of Papua New Guinea resembled those from the Guinea region of West Africa, particularly in their appearance, thus giving us the name Papua New Guinea. Number 21. We all know that Chile is an extremely long but narrow country. At its widest point, it measures just 350 kilometers squared. This means that if Chile were to somehow float across the Atlantic, it could easily fit in the gap between Iceland and the Faroe Islands. Another gap that it could slip through quite easily is the space between mainland Africa and Madagascar. Number 22. A country's...
See, you see, like, you were talking about the width of it there. I've seen that same clip, but it's the length of it. It goes from the top of Norway to the bottom of Greece.
Yeah, so
that's how long it is.
Yeah. It's a long country.
EEZ, or Exclusive Economic Zone, refers to the area around its territory that it claims for economic purposes, such as drilling or fishing. So, which country do you think has the largest EEZ claim? You might think it's a giant like Russia or the US, but it's actually a country that ranks 48th in the world for its size. Any guesses which country it is? Well, if you include all of this country's territorial claims, it has an EEZ totaling 11.7 million kilometers squared. Damn. The country in question is France. France, of course, owns numerous overseas territories around the world, many of which are islands, meaning the zones surrounding these islands belong to France. Number 23. Equatorial Guinea is a country found in Africa, western central-ish to be precise. Now, with a name like Equatorial, you'd assume that this country sits on the equator. However, this is simply not true. Equatorial Guinea is in fact found just a little north of the equator line and has no land sitting directly on the equator itself. A country that does get this right, however, is Ecuador, whose name translates to equator. This country actually does lie on the equator, as its territory is located directly on the imaginary line. Number 24. So Chicago is famously known as the Windy City, but why exactly? Is it because it receives a lot of wind? Well, originally no. It is absolutely true that Chicago is a rather windy place due to the prevailing winds coming from Lake Michigan. But the original reason for it being given this name is due to the nickname given to politicians who were described as being windy, meaning they were full of hot air, often overly boasting about the city.
Most cities would be called that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Hey?
Greatness. Number 25. At 1,345 metres, Ben Nevis in Scotland is the UK's tallest mountain. Well, kind of. If we include all territory claimed by the UK, then this mountain wouldn't even rank in the top 10 nor top 20. It would in fact rank as the 23rd tallest. In this regard, Mount Hope in British claimed Antarctica will be the tallest at 3,329 metres. Number 26. So Antarctica is infamously home to the world's largest desert, as its polar desert covers nearly 14 million kilometers squared of land. That's actually larger than the world's 3 largest sand deserts combined. If we were to drop this desert into Europe, it would easily engulf the entire continent, plus another 4 million kilometers squared.
That's one of the craziest comparisons I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was that big.
I've never seen that comparison before, but I knew it was big.
Yeah.
So that would also include the entire Mediterranean and the Black Sea. Number 27. This is another one of those that you have to double check on a world map to make sure it's correct. However, if you drive directly south from central Detroit, where do you think you'll end up?
No.
I mean, the logical answer would be Ohio, as it's the state that is found south of Detroit and south of Michigan.
Into Canada.
However, the actual answer is Canada. Travelling directly south of some parts of downtown Detroit would take you into the Canadian city of Windsor. Number 28. This is Lake Baikal, located deep in eastern Russia, just north of the country's border with Mongolia.
It's the deepest lake.
It's the largest freshwater lake on the planet by volume, holding an incredible 20% of all unfrozen surface freshwater on Earth. To put that in perspective, it holds about as much water as North America's 5 Great Lakes combined.
What?
Those 5 lakes cover a massive area of around a quarter of a million kilometers squared, compared to Lake Baikal's much smaller 31,700 kilometers squared. But how is this even possible? Well, it all comes down to Lake Baikal's extreme depth. In some parts, it plunges to an astonishing 1,600 meters at its deepest point, far deeper than any of the Great Lakes. Number 29.
That's mad.
At around 1.8 meters, the Maldives is the world's lowest lying country by average elevation. This also gives it the crown as the world's flattest country. The maximum height of the country is believed to be found here, at just 5.1 meters. Funnily enough, on a golf course of all places. For reference, that's a shorter height than some fully grown adult giraffes. And finally, number 30. The world famous Angel Falls found in Venezuela is known as the world's tallest waterfall. Its height is an almighty 979 meters. But what if I was to tell you that this waterfall isn't even close to being the tallest on Earth, kind of? That award goes to the Denmark Strait Cataract, which is an underwater waterfall plunging some 3,500 meters deep. Now, it's not a waterfall in the traditional sense, as it's water plunging within water as opposed to air. But as it's technically still water falling due to colder water sinking below warmer water, it could be classed as the tallest waterfall on Earth. And before we end, tell you what, I'll give you one last bonus fact. So this is Yemen, a country found in the Middle East with a population of around 34 million. Its GDP in 2023 was around 17 billion US dollars. Which, unbelievably, is a lower figure than the revenue Apple made from selling AirPods alone that year, which was around $1 billion more. So there we have it, 30 interesting geography.
What the hell?
Some good facts there.
What do you reckon? What's your favourite one there?
The Lake Baikal. And it's come up in a quiz question before. Where's the deepest? What's the deepest ocean? Deepest lake in the world? And
I'll know that for next time.
Yeah, and I knew it wasn't. Well, my guess was Lake Superior, something like that. I don't know, obviously, but I knew no one's putting that in a quiz question without it there being some kind of catch to it.
Yeah.
So we kind of like thought out of the box a little bit, and someone came up with Lake Baikal, and I was like, never even heard of it at the time.
All right.
And they went, yeah, it's in Russia. So I'm like, go for it. Yeah, and it's but yeah, it's one of there's a few in there that you like. We knew some of them, but there's a lot in there I had no idea on.
No, I know,
that desert going over Europe, the Antarctic desert.
I did not think Antarctica was that big.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, as soon as he said 14.4 square miles or something, whatever it was, I was like, or square kilometers. I was just like, wow. It's that's going to be big then, don't you?
Yeah,
sort of thing. But yeah, I always like the interesting geography facts.
Yeah, they're always good, man.
Good channel that as well.
Yeah.
Enjoy that. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.